Sonic X Shadow Generations just came out, and for those of you living under a rock, it is essentially a remaster of Sonic Generations with an additional storyline where you can play as Shadow the Hedgehog in a mode called Shadow Generations. Hello everyone, I'm OCDsaster, and welcome to OCDsaster Blue, my Sonic exclusive channel. Everything here is Sonic based only. On this channel, I have Let's Plays of Sonic X Shadow Generations, specifically the Shadow Generations portion, and I also have a walkthrough version where there's no commentary, it's just the game audio, and you just get to have that experience if you want to check that out. The original Sonic Generations version of Sonic X Shadow will be releasing soon, and it's going to be the same format where I'll have Let's Plays where I'm doing my initial commentary, and I'll also upload the walkthrough versions if you don't want to hear me yapping. In this video, I'm going to be giving my review of Shadow Generations, the Shadow Story portion of Sonic X Shadow Generations, and I will give a full review on the entire collection, the entire game and package at a later time. So be sure to subscribe to stay tuned for that. I'll also be doing rankings and analysis videos for this game. I am very excited to continue pushing forward with Sonic X Shadow content. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Shadow Generations is an addition to the Sonic Generations portion of the game. It is not a full-fledged new game. However, there is a lot of content to unpack, and I personally think it's a lot of fun. I didn't 100% my file yet, but it took me roughly 3.5 to almost 4 hours to complete the campaign, which I think is a very hefty and reasonable length for a little addition to an already established game. In addition, out of that time, there's only like 10 to 15 minutes of actual cutscenes, so most of that is gameplay time. First, I want to start off by saying Shadow Generations looks great. I think Maria and Dr. Gerald look a little bit weird because they're like human models that I'm not used to seeing in a Sonic game, but aside from that, it's phenomenal. You can see the beautiful textures, lighting, the cutscenes are phenomenal, and even when they do a short, quick little like backstory flashback where it's more 2D animation, it still looks really well put together, and I just have to say the game looks fantastic. In addition, the sound is great, the sound design, the sound effects, the remixes of some classic levels and shadow themes, they're all really top-notch, and that's to be expected of a Sonic game. They usually always knock it out of the park when it comes to music. Not to mention, I got the game for the PS5, so my DualShock controller had all the haptics running, and you could actually hear the rings you collect through the controller, which is just a nice little touch that I wanted to mention there. I've mentioned in a few videos, my biggest problem with Sonic games is the controls, specifically when you're going fast. In addition, I think the way to make a great Sonic game is to have good controls first and foremost, and I have to say, Shadow Generations is a step in the right direction. Although there is still some jank, it feels really good compared to Sonic Frontiers, for example. Now, there are some moments in the hub world where like jumping felt a little bit weird to me, and there was a little bit of like a weight or acceleration for some things, but all in all, I think they really took their time to make sure that Shadow felt good to control. Like I said, I think it's probably one of the best controlling Sonic games or additions to a Sonic game that I've played in a long time. The level designs are immaculate when it comes to theming and to the overall presentation, and it's just great. Like, you're immersed in these levels, and it takes you back to the versions of those games, and I think a lot of these stages are even better than the original versions, so it was really fun to even replay the levels. The replayability for this game is very high, which I think is a huge testament to what I think about this game. Now, I had a concern at the very beginning when they were marketing this game that sparked a little bit of a controversy, and a lot of people got mad at me, was that I said the levels looked a little bit bare and kind of just like tracks the boost down. And I do have to say that it still is a little bit like that, but the design is so well done, and it's just these little sections in the level, it makes up for it in spades. I don't think it's that big of an issue. I definitely was very over analytical and criticized at the very beginning, but I don't regret doing that because all they showed us in the gameplay footage was these sections, because I guess they didn't want to spoil too much. The best example I can give is Kingdom Valley. They just showed Shadow boosting down this empty stone pathway, but they didn't show at the end of the level that rising waterfall that just looks so great that they tried to implement in Sonic 06, but they did it way better in Shadow Generations. So although there are those sections in the game, they make up for it with all the different interactive stuff you can do later in the levels. So I was wrong. I'm happy to be wrong, but I definitely don't retract what I said before, and I definitely still believe that you have a right to criticize things that are released before they come out, and you can't just openly praise everything that you see. But I was wrong. There you go. I said it. The live counter is completely gone in this game. I think that's just going to be it moving forward for not just Sonic games, but just platform games in general, where you just get an infinite amount of retries. When you die, you just go back to a checkpoint. And although I do kind of miss that element, it definitely is sparing in this game. You can make a mistake and go back to a checkpoint like 2 or 3 times, and it won't drastically affect your letter grade. In previous Sonic games, if you even, lose a life once, then it takes you a whole rank down. So that's very good. I do think they are pretty easy with the rankings. There's only a few stages that I haven't mastered yet with an S rank. But yeah, the difficulty does get a little bit higher as you get through it. And I just want to now take some time to talk about the biggest gripe I have with the level design, and I guess in part the controls as well. It's really the mechanic, and that is the Doom powers. First off, I do think that it's a unique idea, and I think they are clever in the way that they implemented these into different stages. However, one, I don't think they should have revealed every single one that you could do, because that kind of gets rid of all of the mystery. And then two, some of them are way better than others to the point of being almost broken, and they don't explain how they are used very well. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, but the Doom wings are pretty much the Super Shadow form, because you can't go Super Shadow because it's taking place during Sonic Generations. So Sonic's collecting the Chaos Emeralds, so you don't have them. It makes sense narratively. So they decided, okay, you can get Doom wings, and that's kind of like your way of doing it. However, these things are broken. I haven't mastered them yet, but I'm pretty sure in a few months, not even months, a few weeks, people are going to be able to exploit the Doom wings and just completely break these levels, which isn't great, but I also just didn't like really the way that they were implemented and controlled. They're just really, really powerful, but then you can also die very easily because you'll just boost way off course, way into the outer atmosphere, and there's no like actual control of the wings, because there are segments in the levels where you are forced into using the wings, but then once you beat the game, you can go back and play every stage again, but with the wings on, and it doesn't feel like they really tested that out too well, and that's one part that I really have a gripe with. And then it's also just some of the Doom powers are just not nearly as interesting or good as others, and that's just more of a personal preference. I still like how they change the dynamic of the levels and of the stages, allow for different shortcuts, different pathing, but yeah, just those Doom wings especially, they really kind of break the game in ways that I didn't think about. There was a moment when I first played in my Let's Play, you can tell from Let's Play 1 to Let's Play 2, I completed Act 2 of Space Colony, and then I went over to the next area, and it said I had to beat Act 2 in order to go over there. But I already did it, but then when I went back, it said I didn't complete the stage, even though I got an A rank. And then when I first played that stage, it gave me the Doom wings in like a cinematic sort of cutscene in the middle of the stage. But then when I played it again, they didn't show up at all, and I was really confused. And that only happened once, but it was a really weird, like, Twilight sort of moment that had me scratching my head. I even went back and reviewed the footage to make sure I wasn't making it up, but that's exactly what happened. Speaking of the second acts in these stages, I was a little bit upset. I'm not going to lie. I did a deep sigh and rolled my eyes when I saw that each stage, when you play a Shadow, is Act 1 and Act 2. However, in hindsight, that fills out the game a little bit more, and you have more stuff to do instead of just doing one act and then just moving on. It would have been a very short game. Now, if I could go back in time a few months ago and talk to myself and say, hey, there's this game coming out called Shadow Generations, there will be side-scrolling levels and you will love them, I would not believe myself. I would laugh and point and call myself stupid. But I liked them. And if you are a fan of the channel, if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I do not like side-scrolling Sonic games. I think the level and how they do those levels for side-scrolling Sonic games are not fun and kind of ruin the whole point of being fast. They did it right. They did it absolutely right in Shadow Generations. I'm comparing it to Sonic Frontiers a lot because that's the most recent Sonic AAA release, and they did it better. They did the side-scrolling portions better than Sonic Frontiers, and that's all I could ask for. It helps that the controls are a lot better, and you're going fast. You have the speed, and it feels like you're going fast if you're boosting. If you're not boosting, it seems a little bit slow, but when you are boosting, you're going at lightning speed, and you are still in pretty decent control. It's not perfect, but it's much better than previous Sonic titles, and I actually kind of like the second act for some stages more than the first act. I can tell you, hands down, now I haven't played this newer, upscaled version of Sonic Generations, but the OG Sonic Generations, I always liked the Act 1s better than the Act 2s, but I can for sure say for Shadow Generations, I liked a lot of the Act 2s more than the Act 1s, which is pretty awesome, I think. I like that diversity, and the levels aren't perfect, but they're really good, and like I said, Sega and Sonic Team are going in the right direction, and I like to see that, and I really hope they don't trip and go 2 steps backwards. The boss fights are really, really fun, very interesting. They're each different in their own ways, and you have to implement the Doom powers in different ways to defeat them. I really, really, really enjoyed it. The one thing is just my gripe with the Doom Wings. There's one boss where you use the Doom Wings. When I first saw the Doom Wings, it said I could boost. It didn't say I could go up or down, so I had no idea. So I was looking like an idiot. If you see those walkthroughs of that Let's Play, that's the context there. It's just, I didn't know. It didn't tell me I could move up and down. I didn't really try either, but still, like, I just did what they told me to do. Regardless of that, very good boss fights, very well designed. I really liked it. You do have to do what you do in Sonic Generations, and that is, once you beat a zone or area, you have to complete 2 challenges in each act. So basically 4 challenges to get a key that will unlock the boss gate. And there's a mixed bag. I don't think I've tried all of the challenges yet, but the ones that I did, it was pretty much 50 to 60% I really had fun and enjoyed, and then the other was kind of just like, okay, this is padding, this is filler to kind of keep the game and the runtime moving a little bit. So that's what I think about the challenges. I haven't done, there's like a harder difficulty mode. I'm going to do that next. So I'll probably add a review in, or an annotated review for when I do the whole review of Sonic X Shadow Generations. But yeah, the challenges were a nice touch. The last thing I really want to touch on for the gameplay, though, is the white hub world, or white space, I should say. It's like what Sonic has in Sonic Generations, except of moving side to side, it's a 3D space, and it's, once again, like Sonic Frontiers, and it's like the hub islands of Sonic Frontiers, where you're in a 3D space, you can explore around. There's no pop-in. The rails and stuff are already there, guys. There's no pop-in as you move around. There's springs, there's secrets, there are unlockables, there are collectibles of art pieces, and, you know, sound bites and stuff like that. It's really, really cool. It's really, really fun, and it's not that disorienting. And as you play the game, as you unlock more levels and beat levels and unlock Doom powers, you get more access to the white space, and it's just a really nice touch. And it's kind of frustrating because it's what Sonic Frontiers could have been if they had more time in the oven, but it's also getting me excited if they do continue with a Sonic Frontiers 2, or even if it's not Sonic Frontiers 2, another Sonic game, that they can implement this even more, because it really is great. And that open space is in some levels too. The levels aren't full linear anymore. You have a bunch of options to move around and try different things. I haven't tried them all yet, but it does, once again, make that replayability so delicious. I saved the story for last because I think it's the weakest part of Shadow Generations. Now, the creators already said when they were marketing and advertising this game that Shadow Generations was an addition to Sonic Generations, but it wasn't its full-on sequel game, and that it was going to be shorter, which it was. But like I said, it was a decent amount of time of playing. But I also said the cutscenes are only like 10 to 15 minutes long, and they don't really provide or add anything special or new. I thought we were going to get more emotional scenes with Dr. Gerald and Maria, or maybe some deeper explanations of Doom and why he's back, but then it's kind of just time anomaly stuff where Dr. Gerald and Maria were pulled out of time before their demise, and Doom is pulled back because time doesn't exist in this place, so he can return. He hasn't technically been defeated in this space, and he wants his revenge. He wants complete control of Shadow. I think it's a very unique idea. It's a very unique concept. They just didn't expand on it, right? So the prologue, Dark Beginnings, leads us into this story that's just kind of half-baked, and I'm not upset about it. There are moments in there that are really good, and Shadow seeing Maria again is an interesting concept. I just really wish they would have been a little bit more risky with it. But now I know it's a kid's game. I know they have other projects they're working on. I know they're trying to market Shadow for Sonic Movie 3. I just think it would have been great if we had a few more moments with Maria and Dr. Gerald. However, I do have to say, the ending of the story, mwah, chef's kiss. Very emotional, very impactful, and it's just like 2 seconds. All in all, what did I think of Shadow Generations? Shadow Generations is a step in the right direction. I really liked the level design. I really liked how Shadow controlled. I liked how you felt fast in moments, and how the boss fights were dynamic and each different and unique in their own ways. I also liked that they implemented Sonic Frontiers exploration but didn't have pop-in, and that the music, of course, was slapping the whole ride. Although the Doom powers provided a level of depth and change into the game's mechanics, I did think that they were a little half-baked and kind of broken at times. In addition, the story was not as strong as I would like it to be, but it wasn't terrible either. It's important to remember that Shadow Generations is an addition to Sonic Generations. It's not a sequel, and they never marketed it as such. So for that, you have to give it extra points, because although some parts are padding, like the challenges, they really provide a lot of content and a lot of replayability that makes this so much fun. They really could have phoned this in and only given us one act per stage. They could have not even added the challenge mode and just had us go straight to the boss, and really cut down the playing time to only 2 hours. And I think it would have been an okay experience, but not nearly as good as what we got. They really put their time and attention into the levels, and I think into the control of Shadow. So I'm just once again over the moon excited about what the next Sonic game has to bring, and I really hope they implement these changes over, because it really was a good blend of everything. I'm very excited about the outcome. I really enjoyed this game, and if I had to give it a ranking in Sonic style, I would give it a high A. Very close to S, but there are a few little flaws in there that I've already talked about in length. What did you guys think about Sonic X Shadow Generations? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was overhyped and just kind of mid? Let me know down in the comments. I know I'm still riding off the high of this game being new, and I still have the whole Sonic Generations portion to complete. So be sure to check in on my full review once that's out. Make sure you're subscribed so you can see when that comes out, and see if my opinion has skewed or changed at all. It should be very interesting. Have you played the game yet? Are you still waiting? Let me know. Also, I will be releasing more Sonic X Shadow Generations content, ranking videos, like I said, analysis videos, but I also will have more walkthroughs and Let's Plays of the Sonic version. You can check out the Shadow ones out on the channel now. All you have to do is go to the homepage and scroll down to the walkthroughs or Let's Plays playlists. But I also have other content that's not Sonic X Shadow Generations if you're trying to avoid spoilers, or if you are trying to look at something else that's different but still Sonic related. I'm currently doing a series where I'm talking about if I could remake Sonic Forces, what that would look like. The first 2 episodes are out, and I'm working on the 3rd. I have a big Sonic Riders video that I will eventually get out there, but there's so much other stuff on the channel, so please take a look at that. It would really mean a lot to me. With that being said, I'm OCDsaster, and I hope you have a super shadow rest of your day.